everybody, this is Mike Sandoval with News by Muse. This is an after look from the Newport Beach Film Festival because we met a lot of great filmmakers over the during the week that we were at Newport Beach covering the film festival, and we met a couple people from this film, the producer and also Isaac Hirotsu Woofter, who directed Bound, the movie. Um, Welcome to News by Muse. It's great to finally talk to you since we didn't get a chance to talk to you at the Newport Beach Film Festival.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Wrote and directed and raised all the money for this film. So I
Well,
know exactly.
I was trying to be nice and say you're the director. Oh no, everything. Show the bigger team, but we, even though me and you know it was your passion project and you did it on your own. Great,
Yeah, 5 years. Five
yeah,
years I've been, or going on my fifth year, I'd
mhm,
say here.
yeah,
So,
great movie, great idea, interesting concept. What was the idea behind the film? Because especially with dealing with mental illness and a subject that's really in topic today, and you did it in a way that was so different, so interesting, that really brought me into the story. Please tell us about it.
well, I didn't start off by th saying I'm going to write this mental health, film. Um, I actually had a conversation with the lead actress, Alexandra Facedagan, who does a wonderful job. We were actually dating at that time. At the beginning of this, we were production partners on this. That lasted till about 12 days into shooting out of the 42. So that's a whole nother story. If you thought there was drama in the film, oh, you should have seen the drama after. No, but we're good friends, by the way. Just want to throw that out. But it's very loosely based off of a couple of true events in her life.
Mhm.
One of them being she came to New York City with and had a rough go with it, and she didn't face nearly as terrible of a time as Bella does in the film. But that was the biggest inspiration. And then all of a sudden, these characters, setting it in New York City with all of these characters, I was just like, well, let's have a black gay man, let's have a Latin woman, and all and what were the major theme is like they're all kind of bound by something. So hence the title Bound.
Mhm.
And it ended up being that a lot of them was something that they had suffered early on, some childhood trauma that they suffered early on, that they see the protagonist Bella going through it at that time. Now all of the other characters have already either gone through that and found a way to move past it and live their lives for the most part, you know, well and happy. And so yeah, but it didn't start off. I wasn't like, I'm gonna write a mental health thing. And then I showed it and people were like, oh, the mental health themes in this. And I'm like, oh man, you guys are right. I didn't even realize that. But one thing I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to make a PSA hallmarky, like, if you live your life this way, you will not have trauma, you will not have uh you'll always be happy, you will not face any. It's not that at all. I think the thing that I wanted to get across was, yes, these terrible things can happen, but we don't have to let it define us if we,
Yeah.
and with the right kind of help, with the right kind of support and or friends or people, or whatever it is, like we can get through this and tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, and I agree with you because you pull those subject matters through that watching it. Like, I think everybody that I talked to who has seen this already from Newport Beach loved it and loved the way you delivered it because it's so poignant not only to the time but also the subject matter and everything. It just came out really good. One thing I want to touch about, what great casting. When putting the cast together, what was the idea? What for some of these people, were they friends of yours already, people you already knew and you just brought them in, or were they do the full casting sheet because you did a great job? Whoever, if you casted or somebody else casted, would love to give them praise on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important for me. I knew that to tell a story like this, and like we didn't have the budget to be like, all right, we're gonna rehearse, we didn't rehearse. we didn't rehearse. We rehearsed one scene, the big fight scene, and we kind of choreographed that for 20, 30 minutes before. And but other than that, people, for the most part, I did a read through, or we talked through a couple scenes, and that was it. I let people improvise. Every actor wanted to do something differently. Well, Alexandra was cast because we were dating at the time. I was cast as to play Gordy. I grew this giant big beard, and I was gonna cut a lot of weight to kind of look like a meth addict, or someone a little bit more strung out. But then I auditioned that role anyways, and Bryant Carroll came along and blew me away. I cried during his audition. I cried during 3 or 4 auditions. His was one of them, partly because he was so good and he understood the childlike, vulnerable side to that character, and not just an angry, you know, white trash guy or something that most people were playing. But I also cried because I was like, I'm gonna give up this role. I'm
Mhm.
gonna give this role, and I really wanted to play that role.
Mhm.
But so the 3 people that were cast, and Bandit was cast. I
Mhm.
bought Bandit, who was the pocket squirrel, the flying squirrel,
Yep.
and I gave it to Alexandra, and I said, "Hey, get get comfortable with this. This
Mhm.
is your pet, you know." So we had those 3 things cast. I X'd myself out once I saw that. We used a EB casting, Eisenberg and Beans casting, and they brought me some people. And then we focused on 2. We focused on getting Martha, and then getting on Oais.
Mhm.
Um, and we approached them uh, you know, wrote them a cover letter, approached them, and then you have to kind of sit and wait, because who knows, they might watch it that day, they might watch it in 3 weeks. That they're pretty busy. Those the people we knew they would be busy. So and then if somebody passed or something, we would move to the next one. So it takes a long time. Um, and then the rest kind of came through the casting. The so I approached directly for Ramin Karimloo, who played Oais, and Jessica Pimentel, who plays Marta. Um, and there were some roles I didn't think we'd be able to cast. I did not think I would be able to cast Yeva, the mother. I could not find anybody that fit it. And then Puya Mohseni comes along, and I bawled during that because she's so riveting. It was really also really hard because I didn't really have like scenes for her to do, because this woman is kind of like dying, and so I was looking for a certain tone, a certain quality, a vibration, and she brought that vibration. And then I would ask everybody for a callback. I would then have them do improvisation. She improvised for like 5 or 6 minutes, and I couldn't stop watching her and crying. Um, the third round would be like, okay, this is my first choice. I just want to talk to them, just to see if they're crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use this person. Like, will I be able to work with this person? Do I want to be in this room with this person? Because I'm going to ask them to do some very demanding stuff with very little prep time together. Like, they got to do most of that on their own. Um, we ended up going with a lot of people with tons of theater background and training. There's 6 people on this film with Broadway credits,
Mhm.
Tony nominees, Ramin Karimloo, and everybody else off Broadway. And there's something about the theater actors that they're willing to get a little dirtier, I feel, and not like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. They're
Yeah.
willing to like
Oh,
work.
trust me.
They
I
want
know.
they want to work. They don't
Yeah.
want to just look pretty. And this wasn't a movie where people look pretty. Like, Yeva grew out her roots for me, and she's like, I can't believe I'm growing out my roots for you, and all of the things
Mhm.
and it was a scene once, Alexandra. I'm like, Alexandra, very beautiful actor, and I'm like, guys, she looks too pretty. She's homeless right now. And there was one scene where they were scuffling. There was a big fight, and we were shooting it. I'm like, you're not dirty enough. And
Yeah.
so she put some makeup on her hands. And I'm like, it's not working. And we had a very small crew that day, and we didn't have any more makeup. So I was like, break open that chocolate bar. And I had her put chocolate on her face. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, a good hand of dirt could have done so.
Well, we were inside a coffee shop, and I'm like,
Well,
what do we have here right now? I'll pay for the
coffee
chocolate bar.
grounds, just hey, you have to improvise and do what you got to do in order to get the scene done.
Exactly. Like when it comes down to it, you're still having to, you can prepare all you want. You can have the best producers and the best ADs, but something's gonna go wrong or something's gonna come up and you're gonna have to pull an audible out there and just
Yeah.
improvise and MacGyver it, you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's the thing, like when you're thinking about it and you're taking yourself out and you see the final product, how much were you like, okay, this is I made a great decision on that. Like for me not to do that role and to pull myself out and just focus on the direction.
Yeah, it was great decision on my part. I felt, first of all, I felt like I grew up that day when
Hmm.
it took a second, I was like, no, I had all my friends and they were all like, dude, you raised the money, you wrote the thing, you do it, man, and I was just like, oh, I want to so bad. It's a good challenge. It's going to be, it's going to be great for me, but it was so good that I didn't.
Hmm.
Because Bryant is so good. He's such a talented actor, and he's a force to be reckoned with. He is a certain type of actor that when the engine gets going, you just let it go, and yeah, and he's just a, he's like a volcano and a locomotive in a way. But he's so good, and so that's one. And two, I was just way over my head anyways. We were undermanned, underfunded. I was sleeping 3 hours a night, 6 days, and then the seventh day I would finally crash. My body would, for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, "There's no way that I could."
Hmm.
I would have probably gone crazy or like just, gotten really, really physically ill if I had tried to play that role and do all the things, because there was just too much stuff to be done.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's where it really shows you as a director and how knowing how to make those hard decisions because a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would listen to everybody and say, "Oh yeah, I could do that too," and then you risk your vision of what the movie should be, which I commend you for doing that because it's like what
Thank you.
came out was just amazing. The one thing I do want to point out is your cinematographer. Uh, was it you or did you have somebody else? Because it's like it was so well shot from the lighting to your daylight scenes were so well done. Please tell us more about that and elaborate more on the cinematography.
Yeah, we had two main cinematographers, and the first one was Maximilian Lewin. I've worked with him on some small projects before. He's a fantastic cinematographer. And the one thing I told him, I was like, look, it's this slice of life, edgy, raw. I want to feel like we're in it with them. So we were like, we probably want to shoot handheld, for the most part for that. I don't know the technical side at all. I know we shot on a red,
Mhm.
and and I'm not a grip or a gaffer. Um,
Mhm.
we had Mike De Lorenza was our um, did the lighting for us, and those two worked together on that part. Um, but yeah, and that was the biggest thing for me. And like, I had these shots and these visions in my head. I made a shot list and I gave him the shot list. And but we would get to the set and we were like, wow, this room's a lot smaller. We can't do all those shots. And also I would plan for like 15 shots. And it's like, oh, we have okay, so we really can maybe get 3 shots in this next 2 hours, 3 hour chunk.
Mhm.
So again, on the fly, we were both like, look, man, we're gonna have to improvise here a little bit. One cool scene was the big fight scene, because we were shooting two cameras that day. Sam Cohen was shooting the other camera. And I said, guys, this is going to be a little bit of a dance. We have a lot of moving parts here because not only are the actors going to be moving, and I had them say, I didn't say, on this, it wasn't choreographed like a dance, like
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
it was like you'll be here and you'll be here and you'll be here. And in that time, somewhere that the camera's going to pass through here. So they were part of it as well in that sense. And then the editor took over and really kind of brought it all together. The other cinematographer was Jake Simpson, who came on for the last 40%, I would say. And he was gung ho to do everything. It was really awesome. I was like, I want to shoot some stuff in the water. I'm going to buy you fishing waders. And so I was like, are you okay? Did you bring out your red camera over into the water? And he said, yeah, whatever. So got him to go out there in the fishing waders, and he was just willing to go do anything. We
Mhm.
would even like rent electric city bikes, and I'm like, all right, let's go get these shots. And he would take his camera, and we would just go around New York and at 5 or 6 in the morning, getting sunrises and at nighttime sunsets and stuff like that. So, yeah, both great work, man. Really, I was really because I don't really know what the lighting is going to look like until a little bit later.
Yeah,
I hope we hired the right person. So
exactly. Exactly. And it came out really good. After your screening at Newport Beach, what was the word out from people who saw it? I'm sure they came up to you right afterwards. What was that like for you to get that attention after showing it?
the audience reactions are amazing. Like, and I'm not just talking about like my friends and family. Of course, they're gonna like it, but I'm talking about people that I don't know. Those
Mm,
are the ones that I really are listening to. Um, Sometimes they come up and they don't really know what to say, and that's like my favorite when they're like, I can't even I'm just moved,
mm,
I'm emotional, I'm a little bit, uh that's great. And and then and like you said, people are like, this is a conversation we need to start having. We
mm,
need to start, talking about. And yeah, I want them to. I don't need cheerleaders, I will, but what I do want is to people to feel moved more than them. I would rather somebody say I was moved in a way I can't explain right now, which I got a lot. And than like, oh, we loved it, and then never talking about it again. I was like, no, let it, it's fresh. I think it's emotional. These are all things. I know the programmer for Newport Beach saw 135 films, the senior programmer, and he said this was he had two favorite films that he saw this year, and this was one of them. And he's really been pushing for us, and a big fan.
mm.
It feels good because I spent 5 years of my life on it. Um, and it would be hurt if I spent 5 years of my life and people were like, bro, this is shit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly. Well, and that's always a worry. You create this, it's your baby. You put it out there and you hope people will get the same reaction as you've been going through this 5-year journey, and people did, which was great, which was very exciting.
I think that like I made the movie that I wanted to watch. And I
Mhm.
like to watch movies where I'm like punched in the gut and like, oh my gosh, wow. I don't want to ever know what's going to happen. I want it to be as completely surprised every turn, which is hard to find these days because everybody just kind of follows usually the same structure because they're too afraid to take chances. They're like, no, no, I don't want to go this route that I don't know where it ends yet. If
Mhm.
I go here, I know that this book tells me that this needs to happen here. And then for me, when I watch those movies, it's just like, oh, good guy, bad guy, inciting incident. That's the thing that's going to happen. That's the thing that's what they're not being able to do right now. That's the thing they're going to learn to kind of fix it at the end. But just kidding, it's not.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to see something surprising, and I want to get punched in the gut and really not be able to talk anymore. And that's how I wrote it.
Mm.
And that's how we edited it. And I spent a year and a half being like, nah, this isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right. I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. So it does feel good.
Mm. That's
It does
good.
feel
That's good. What's next for the film? Where what film festivals are you going to next? Are you taking it to film festivals? Has there been any discussion about a distribution possibility? What's next for this project?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a film that is considered a little film because it doesn't have an A-lister or big celebrities in it. So we said right from the start, hey, let's go film festival route. Let's try to build a grassroots by going to festivals. We played at some very nice festivals. Newport's a fantastic festival. We're going to continue playing festivals for another 6 months or so. We have 3 festivals this month. We're going to Bahamas International Film Festival, and then we're doing 2 New York film festivals at all the same time. So I'm like, oh, I can't even go to all of them. I can't even go to the ones in one of them in New York, and I live in New York because
Yeah.
I'll be in the Bahamas.
Mhm.
That one was lined up first.
Yeah.
And then we have some lined up for 2025. We
Mhm.
do have distribution lined up as well,
Mhm.
probably for spring, maybe late spring of 2025. Depending on if we get into some more festivals, we can delay it a month or 2 or 3 months, or we'll just be like, you know what, let's go, let's rock it. And then we'll go to streamers first, and we'll have a small theatrical release that we'll be putting together. Probably 5 cities, New York, LA, and then 3 more, maybe my hometown. And so yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that's where we're at with this one.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great to hear. Isaac, thank you so much for stopping with us. We really appreciate it. We love hearing about the film, and I'm sure as soon as it gets the distribution starts coming out, we have a date on when everybody could see it. We'll be talking with you again about that phase
Yeah.
of this project. So
Every time I think that I'm done, I'm like, oh wait, there's a whole new thing I have to learn.
yes, that's the whole nature of the business. It's about learning new things.
Yeah.
And wait, but you did a great film. It's
Thank
getting
you.
some buzz. So that's the best thing about it is that it's getting some buzz, and we loved it here. I loved it. Thank you so much for stopping with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.